Hey there, it's Crowd9 with the second installment of my side deck theory series. In the first part we covered meaningful board removal options, so check that out in the description down below. This part is going to cover some options that will give you a good advantage for going first if you're going second deck and vice versa. So stay tuned, check out this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hope you guys enjoy the video. Love him or hate him, the Inspector is here to make sure no effects can activate. Unless there's a ritual, a fusion, a synchro, an XC, link, or pendulum summon monster on your board, you can activate one effect per type on the field. So for example, if there's two fusions on the board, you can only activate one card effect that turn. But if there's a fusion and a link, you can now activate two effects. The good? Some decks can't even play through a 2k beater without effects. The bad? You're restricted as well, so make sure you have a viable way to get him off the board if you need to. Vanity's Fiend cannot be special summoned, but once you tribute for him, you nor your opponent can special summon monsters, a 2400 attack beater who basically puts you back into guild format? Well, some decks can't play through that either. Majesty's Fiend. You like monster effects? I bet you do. Unfortunately, Majesty Fiend doesn't. So say goodbye to any monster effects you or your opponent want to use. Vanity's Ruler is like Vanity's Fiend, but at the cost of two monsters to summon him. But guess what? You can still special summon monsters. Your opponent can't. So enjoy playing the game while your opponent T-sets and passes. If you're running a fairy deck and you are able to control how many fairies you have in your graveyard, Archlord Christia can be special summoned when you have exactly 4 fairies in the graveyard, and once it hits the board, the fun, I mean the ability to special summon is cut off for your opponent, and you as well. But hey, once it's special summoned, you can add back a fairy from the graveyard. That's good. Also, if it leaves the field and is sent to your graveyard, it would be forced back to the top of your deck. Keep that in mind, that is not optional. If your opponent relies heavily on banishing cards, the Chaos Hunter over here got your back. If your opponent special summons, just discard a card and well, now your opponent can't. You also get a monster on board, and again, sometimes decks just rely too heavy on the banishing element and have no way to get rid of the Chaos Hunter over here. Okay, hear me out. The original mistake on legs over here. Also on top of that, a 1900 attack body? That can negate a special summon of your opponent's monster? That's a lot to look for here, if you don't rely too much on your normal summon. This here is the real Thunder King, ruler of the Thunder Dragons. Not canon, by the way. Tell your opponent no extra deck that turn. Watch their face. If your opponent destroys Artifact Sanctum, you also get a bonus pop on the field. If you're going first and you have the ability to play Trap Tricks along with Sanctum, you have technically 6 copies of Sanctum in your deck to set, and yeah, your opponent can't do much, so that's pretty good. How is this card not banned? It literally says don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! And just draw, pass, and wait for someone to deck out, or instantly scoop if they don't have a way to destroy it. How mystic. It's as if we're digging into a mine, just digging through our deck for an out. Whoever has monsters on the board can attack or activate monster effects anywhere. Downside? Well, what's the downside? You win. Is your opponent playing a deck that needs to move cards from the graveyard to anywhere else in the game? I got the field card just for you. Necro Valley. Keep those graveyard cards stuck there. You can't move anything either though, so remember that. You like spell cards? Of course you do. Do you want your opponent to hate all the spell cards they have in their hand? Of course you do. Do you main spellcasters? Well, if you do, I have the field card just for you. The Secret Village of the Spellcasters is here to tell your opponent no pesky spell cards for them and watch you enjoy all of yours. Just make sure you have a spellcaster on the board or this card is reversed and they'll watch you hate all the spell cards you have in your hand. Discard a card, and well, now your opponent can't activate any graveyard effects. Well, you can't use graveyard effects either, but that's fine. If you ask me, that's just the sound of a silent graveyard. If you're playing a graveyard-centric deck, don't play this card. But if your opponent or the meta has a very heavy graveyard format, this might be a card to keep on the side. Literally just say no to any card you hate. Don't like Nibiru? Prohibition. Don't like Dark Ruler no more? Prohibition. Don't like Lightning Storm? Well, no problem. Just prohibition it. Banish all the monsters. Make half the hand traps in this game useless. That's kind of it. If your opponent relies on graveyard effects, but you passively just banish all their monsters, what are they gonna do? Nothing. Everything just gets banished. If it's a monster, it goes to the banish pile instead of the graveyard pile. It's literally a win-win. But that also applies to you, so just make sure you're playing it correctly. Heatwave literally says if you're going second deck and they make you go first and you happen to draw Heatwave and you activate it, you're really just going second with some extra cards in your hand. So go ahead and set whatever you want, set whatever back row you want, because once it's your opponent's turn, guess what? All they can do is set a monster and some back row and pass. And that's it. It's as if you're going second when you're really just going first. So good card to keep on the side because it's just good. Tell your opponent their board doesn't rule and it's no more. That's Dark Ruler no more. Okay, pretty lame, I know. Spoke about this a little bit in the first video, but if your opponent just has a bunch of monster effects with no back row negates, guess what? Dark Ruler just makes it so that they have nothing on board that can do anything against you besides them having some pretty large vanilla monsters on the field. They can't lose that turn but clear their board and make your own, and that's Dark Ruler no more in a nutshell for you. Do you just want to make the deck feel kind of useless the entire time while you're playing it for about 2 turns? Just play deck lockdown. Neither player can add cards from their deck to their hand except by drawing them, which is basically just a mistake. And neither player can special summon monsters from their main deck, so it's pretty nuts. Does your opponent like having different attributes on the field? No more. Tell them they're stuck with one for the rest of that game, as long as this card is on the board of course, and watch as most decks can play around it. Just make sure you're also playing a mono attribute deck or you're also going to be stuck just like them. And that's Gozen Match for you. Does your opponent like spellcasters and warriors? Tell them no. Flip this and, well, similar to Gozen Match, they're stuck with either spellcasters or warriors on the board as long as this card remains on the field. Same thing, just make sure you're playing a mono type deck or else it's going to affect you just as much as it's affecting them. Your opponent can have their spellcaster and their warrior, but no more of either, just one of each. Really good against mono type decks, so if you're running a bunch of different types, you're good to go. Just remember, there could only be one. They summon twice? Flip up summon limit and they cannot summon no more. I mean, you can't either after 2, but sacrifices have to be made. Lose 1 turn. They lose their turn. Next. Okay, not really. Whenever your opponent would special summon a monster, change it to defense mode and negate its effects. Now if they summon a link monster, the effects are still negated despite it not being able to change to defense mode. So that's good, it's a mini skill drain. But it also applies to you, so don't forget that. If you and your opponent like drawing from your deck, just play Mistake and now neither of you can draw from your deck. No more adding cards from your deck besides drawing them physically. This card was a legitimate mistake to make. If literally any card would go from the field, the deck, anywhere to the graveyard, it gets banished instead. That's Macrocosmos. Just literally banish everything in the game from that time frame. It's pretty good. No fusions? No problem. No synchros? No problem. Xyz and rituals? Still not a problem. Pendulum summon? No problem. Links? Alright, that's a little bit of a problem. You can flip Dimensional Barrier, call anything but Link, and your opponent can't use that summoning mechanic. Pretty solid in a format that's primarily using one of those mechanics, so if rituals are the best thing in the game right now, time to decide in the Dimensional Barriers and call ritual, and guess what? They just passed their turn. Anti-spell fragrance. Pendulums? What's their out? Scooping to game 2? Spell cards can't be used without having them be set on the field for a full turn. That means until your next turn? Fun times. The Royal Decree is to negate all trap effects on the field. Make them useless, simple, to the point. 8 words. That's all we need. Imperial Iron Wall. No one can banish. Not you. Not me. No one. That's it. Literally. Special summoning from the graveyard? What is this, 2020? Not happening. No one can special summon from the graveyard. Nope. It is a royal prison. I live for another turn, the card. That's Waboku. That's kind of it. If your deck can utilize a lot of trap cards, consider running this. It's really good, it's really underestimated, and I just want people to honestly think about this one because Waboku is actually low-key super solid. I live for another turn, the second card. That's Threatening Roar. It's also pretty good. Eradicator Epidemic Virus? Just tribute your Dark Magician, call spell or trap, then say bye-bye to that from your opponent's hand and their field. Imagine losing more than half your deck. Yikes. Oh, and did I mention you get to see your opponent's hand and field if they have anything set? That's pretty spicy. Just pay 2,000 life points, it's not that bad. Look at your opponent's hand, banish something until the end of the turn, and congratulations, that's one less thing you need to worry about in your opponent's hand to break your board and make you lose. Imagine popping your opponent's back row just to hit Waking the Dragon and not having Ash or Negate in hand. What do you summon off of it? The last warrior from another planet. Sure, you lose all your special summon monsters on the field, but guess what? Now you and your opponent can't play Yu-Gi-Oh! So just keep attacking with him and you'll win. Yeah! Take a nap, enjoy your monsters going into defense mode and not being able to use their effects. Oh, you can't even activate them? Well, that sucks. This last 3 turns. Alright, well, better get it out by the 3rd turn. Honestly, this is just lose 1 turn, the monster. Do you like your graveyard? I mean, that's fine. You can keep yours. But your opponent? Not so much. Their graveyard effects can't activate the turn this card is used. That sucks. But hey, that's an Abyss Dweller for you. So pretty similar to the Royal Prison, the Sky Prison just says your opponent can't special summon anything from the graveyard. If you're playing a lot of level 8s, why not build a castle to hide behind to make sure you survive another turn when you are made to go first? This card is still legal. It's literally a pseudo FTK. Activate it on your opponent's turn and they're pretty much stuck to do nothing. Literally, Calamities is nuts and I can't even make a joke about it because it just wins you the game alone. Pop out 2 level 9s if your deck has them and you literally win by the most pseudo OTK, FTK, stun card in the game. Hey guys, so I really hope you enjoyed part 2 of the side deck theory video. It took a little while to make, a little bit longer. I wanted to make sure that it was a bit different from the first one, and you know, as usual, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hope you guys again enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for more to come, there will be more frequent uploads, and yeah, I hope you guys stay safe, have a good time, and keep dueling.